Not only is Donald Trump doing less speeches now, he's cutting his speeches short as people are leaving early, exactly as Vice President Kamala Harris said they were. We'll show you some video footage of those people leaving as Donald Trump spent an entire speech essentially saying, I'm not weird. I'm not weird. That's a pretty weird thing to keep on talking about at speeches and probably indicates, guess what, that you are weird. Also, Donald Trump's effort to try to shut down our government, ordering MAGA Mike to put a poison pill into a continuing resolution that seems to have failed. It's like the fourth time in as many years Donald Trump has tried to shut down the government by interfering with Congress's ability to pass a budget and raise the debt ceiling before that. We'll break that down. Also, Donald Trump's attempt to interfere with the way Nebraska counts its electoral college votes also seems to fail, as a critical vote or a critical legislator says he will not be supporting a special session to overhaul their electoral system this close to the election. We're learning some interesting things about Melania Trump's spousal income disclosure on Donald Trump's campaign finance forms. Well, she claims that she earned close to $250,000 from the Log Cabin Republican organization, except the Log Cabin Republican organization says that they never paid her that money. So who keeps paying Melania Trump when Trump is disclosing that? And he's been doing that since 2022, saying that Melania is getting this payment from the Log Cabin Republicans. I would say it's beyond suspicious, and we'll break it down. Donald Trump's stock DJT continues to crash. I thought he was a great businessman, and this has his name on the stock. How come it is crashing like this? Just take a look at that. About 70 to 75% decline in the past 6 months alone. Imagine if that was your 401k. Imagine if that was the American economy, where our stock market is performing 55 to 60% higher now than when Donald Trump was in office. That's how Trump's own stock performed. And don't say we didn't warn you here, MAGAs, on the MeidasTouch Network. 2.5 years ago, we said that's exactly what's going to happen. We also said, take a look at Donald Trump's history in business failure after failure after failure. And speaking of failure, one of Donald Trump's digital ad campaigns targeting Georgia has photographs of Georgia, not the state, the country. Seriously. This is the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. I also want to get into a filing that Donald Trump made in the Washington, D.C. criminal case, where Donald Trump says that the judge should ban special counsel Jack Smith from making a filing on the issue of absolute immunity, because even briefing and discussing the issue would cause Donald Trump, he says, opprobrium, embarrassment, and that he's immune from embarrassment as well, he says, and that he shouldn't be embarrassed. I'm not making that up. That was his argument in federal court today. Brett, Jordy, how you doing?
Oh, I don't think there's a constitutional right to not getting embarrassed, Donald Trump. And don't do the crime if you can't deal with the facts that come out in the indictments, I guess. But no, I'm doing good. It's interesting to see the Trump campaign just kind of really flailing right now. And one of the things that I've noticed in particular over these past few days is that the Trump campaign has been ramping up the grift. And not only the Trump campaign, Donald Trump himself, Melania Trump, it's like all the family right now. Like they're all getting together and they're like, we better milk this thing for all we got while we still can. I think it kind of tells you a little bit of something behind the scenes, especially as you read the tea leaves and you see kind of the polls coming out. You see him try to rearrange the way he's doing his rallies. Like then he's also embarrassed about his rallies length now because Kamala Harris called it out and these people are leaving. And so he's really in his head. And there are about 43 or so days until Election Day, and he hasn't even been able to disavow the man in North Carolina who refers to himself as a black Nazi and wants to bring slavery back. I mean, that's where they're focusing their time right now. This is a campaign in absolute chaos, and I think Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are doing a brilliant job right now, staying on message, speaking to the voters. It's so great to see, and it's so refreshing. Jordy, what's new out there in Pennsylvania?
Shout out PA. Yeah, no, I just want to hit on exactly what you said right there, Brett. The Trump family has upped the grift tenfold, and that's because I like to imagine they see the writing on the wall. This is their grift going out of business MAGA sale, where now they're hawking coins and characters and crypto. I mean, the list goes on and on. We'll get in it on the show today, but they do feel like there is some form of major desperation happening from the Trump family right now. Ben, what say you?
Well, if you want to know how you buy a hamburger with crypto, don't ask Donald Trump, even though he claims to know what the heck he's talking about. That's what he's been bragging about. I bought the burger with the crypto. He said, I mean, it's like, what are you talking about? He held this weird event for the Trump trading cards and these weird events for Trump crypto and like not actually campaigning. And then when he is campaigning, this is what we're seeing now. Here are attendees leaving Trump's rally in Wilmington, North Carolina. It only went for about an hour total-ish. And here they are leaving at the 28-minute mark. Here, we got this video.
But take nothing for granted. You have to get out and vote. You just have to get out and vote. We cannot accept it. What they do is the only thing they do well. They cheat. The politicians.
And you hear him in the background, though, because he's not actually saying things.
Well, he did say you have to get out. Maybe they just missed the get out and vote part of it. They said, you got to get out. They said, all right, I'll see you later. Heard this before.
What I've always said going back now, what is it, 2.5, 3 years when he started doing the campaign rallies for 2024. Remember, he started campaigning like right away, like right after January 6th. Then the corporate media went into high gear and they started with the polls already while President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were trying to like run a country and clean up after Donald Trump's mess. When I was saying it as I was watching these, I'm like, Trump's not saying things. Like, he's not speaking in sentences. Like, why are we sane washing it back then? His first speech in Waco, Texas, that's where he chose to do it on the 30-year anniversary of the Waco siege, had the opening act right before Donald Trump. Ted Nugent went into this screaming rant calling President Zelensky a homosexual, and that's how they started it. Then Donald Trump said, all right, time we all sing the J6th anthem song. I'm like, the J6th anthem song? What are we talking about? And then it was an anthem by the J6th insurrectionists that Trump replaced the national anthem with. And I'm like, hello? Anybody else like gonna cover this thing? Like, this is pretty crazy stuff right here. And now people are focusing on it on the home stretch. But I'm like, where were you back then? But now Trump's just up there like, I'm not weird. I'm not weird. I'm not weird. JD, we're not weird. Here, play this clip. This is his closing message to the voters. Play the clip.
To do it in Minneapolis. That's why she picked this character, this weird guy. You know, he said weird. JD and I are not weird. We got a lot of problems, but we're not weird.
Also weird. We have a lot of problems, but we're not weird. Saying that is very, very weird. And then Donald Trump now is refusing, and we know that before, but refusing to debate Vice President Kamala Harris again. She's been having a lot of fun with it, just saying, I thought you said anywhere, anytime, any place. I'm ready to beat you again. Let's just do it. You want to do it on CNN? You seem to love those moderators. Let's do it again. Then Donald Trump spending his time giving his closing message, saying there's not enough time to debate, even though in 2020 he debated in October. What are you talking about? Here, play the clip.
That's not what you want. That's not what you want. Kamala and her group have seen what's happening to their campaign, and it's not going well for them. And they would like, just announced a little while ago as I was coming off the plane, they would like to do another debate. Although, good entertainment value. A lot of people say, oh, do it, it's great entertainment. I've already done two. One with Crooked Joe Biden at CNN, and the other one with Kamala on ABC. CNN was very fair, I thought. Joe was driven out of the race. It was a coup, by the way, but he was driven out of the race. And they've been widely criticized by the radical left lunatics for all of the fairness. They were very fair. In other words, they won't be fair again because they took a lot of abuse from the radical left. ABC was 3-on-1, but I was given credit for having done a very, very good job. I appreciate that. We did a great job. It was 3-on-1. The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down. But now she wants to do a debate right before the election with CNN because she's losing badly. You know, it's like a fighter. She sees the pulse. She sees what's happening. She's losing badly, but it's like a fighter who goes into the ring and gets knocked out. The first thing he says is, I want a rematch. I want a rematch.
After the debate with President Biden, Donald Trump was saying, I want a rematch. I want a rematch right away. Vice President Kamala Harris is up. And again, polls don't vote. So I don't want to focus on this poll versus that poll and all of things. Vice President Kamala Harris is breaking 50% in a lot of polls right now. She's doing very well there. And so you've got that. And then you've got Donald Trump as well, just continuing to go on and whine about the moderators and whine about this. Here, by the way, Donald Trump, then he's been posting about this, and he's been saying that I'm here to protect women. I want to protect women. Here, watch this. Here, play this clip.
And at long last, this national nightmare that we're going through will be over. Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion because it is now where it always had to be, with the states and with the...
And that's one of the things that he's been posting about as well. And he's these weird posts, women need me. I'm here to protect the women. You'll never have to think about abortion again. I mean, again, these are very weird and creepy things for him to be saying. Then over here, Donald Trump continues in the speech. Here he talks about Oprah. Here, play this clip.
Ever. She's not competent to be president either, but I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude. She's not competent to be president. Did you see her on Oprah? That's not going to be president. Oprah didn't know what the hell to do. Oprah was like embarrassed. She wanted to hide under the table, but she's a professional and she was able to sort of disguise it. No, she wanted to go right under the table.
You know, and again, he's just not reflecting the reality. I mean, Vice President Kamala Harris had a great appearance on Oprah. A lot of great endorsements were there as well. Here's what happened during Oprah. Here, play this clip.
And so part of my plan is to give startup small businesses a $50,000 tax deduction to start up their small business. Right now it's $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. So that's part of my plan.
That's a teeny tiny business.
That's a business in
teeny tiny business.
It's a concept of a business, right?
Yes.
You know where I'm going. That's right.
You know, when she spent her time on Oprah talking about policies, talking about tax credits, talking about healthcare, talking about Social Security, answering questions from the audience, really addressing concerns. She wasn't up there whining, spreading conspiracies about the 2020 election, 2016, or talking about Hillary Clinton or this, that. She was just up there talking about issues that help the American people. So now also that inflation is going down and inflation has been dealt with by President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Donald Trump's message right now is that the reason inflation is coming down is because he says our country's doing so bad that inflation's under control now. Here, play this clip.
And we will rapidly defeat inflation. So inflation is a misnomer because the inflation's now getting stabilized because our country is doing badly. But
what? Inflation stabilized because our country's now doing badly? No, the issue is that you left us $8 trillion in additional debt. That is what you did. In addition, you printed money recklessly. In addition, during COVID, because you said like a miracle it was all going to go away, you did not prepare the country for it. You did not prepare business and industry, which is what your job should have been. You passed no meaningful infrastructure legislation. So things like chips, semiconductors, and other critical pieces of our supply line were broken as well. And things weren't getting here to the United States. So, and then your failed trade war also against China was inflationary. So inflation has root causes. And I think we, the people, have to understand and recognize, though, that when you add $8 trillion, that more than anyone before, the way Trump did, recklessly print money the way Trump did, have a PPP program with no safety protocols really in place, that was rampant with fraud, do not shore up the supply lines, that's going to cause inflation when things get back to normal. And President Biden brought things back to normal. Then he passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and everybody predicted 100%, Bloomberg said, chance of recession. 100%, all the economists were saying. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris avoided the recession, and now we have interest rates being cut 50 basis points with inflation under control. And as Vice President Kamala Harris says, that doesn't mean we spike the football, but also it means we can recognize that work from leaders was done to get this to happen. We don't just burn it down. But you know who does burn it down? You see this, Brett and Jordy? J.D. Vance essentially admitting that he is an arsonist. I don't even know what he's talking about. When he was giving this speech in Pennsylvania, he says that my son is like me. We like burn things to the ground. What? Here, play this clip.
It's so amazing when you have kids and you see how innate their personalities really are. So the 7-year-old is probably somewhere around here reading a book. He's like his mother. And the 4.5-year-old is much more like his dad. He's probably trying to find a building to burn down or something like that.
Why? What?
I truthfully, I'm trying to understand what he was even trying to get at in that speech. And I truthfully have no idea. I understand he's trying to be relatable there. That's Vance that's Vance trying his hardest to be look, I'm just like my kids. You guys have these crazy kids, right? They're running around, burning down buildings. It's like, whoa.
Murdering their pets.
I was with you. And then what'd you say at the end? They did what? You were with you're doing what with your kids? Because I was following you and I was like, yeah. I'm like my kids too. You said what? We burn down buildings. JD, that's not normal, buddy. It's not. No, JD, that's not a normal thing. What about are they eating dogs and pets? JD, stop it. What are you saying right now? It's just he's the weirdest person on the planet. Let's face it. And what I've noticed of him on the campaign trail is he tries so hard to be like Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And I expect this now to happen also at the debate, where people ask him very simple questions, and instead of answering them honestly or trying to give a thoughtful explanation, he tries to pull a Trump. He yells at the person. He yells at the reporter. He goes, "You're disgusting." Actually, he's like a Marjorie Taylor Greene response, right? "You're actually disgusting because you asked that. Ask the people of Spring." He gets very abrasive in that way, but he doesn't understand that he lacks all the other qualities of Trump that I think makes Trump appeal to Trump supporters. So to me, Vance, anytime he says anything, just comes off as the most unlikable human in the world. And I think America's going to see that also in the October debate when he goes up against Walz, because he's backing himself into all these really weird positions and policies. And it's going to be interesting to try to watch him kind of worm himself out from them.
He's so unrelatable because he's also just so uncomfortable in his own skin. I mean, just look at the facts of it. This is a guy that's changed his name multiple times, more than 3 times. This is a person who's also changed, he wrote about it in his book, his sexual orientation a couple of times as well. This is someone who doesn't know how to be himself. And so he's trying to be what he thinks the GOP needs him to be in this moment. And then that's how you end up with, my son is just out there trying not to burn down houses. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? Just take a breath. Who are you, man?
Well, he's a smart guy, though, in the sense of he can mimic the words. And what makes this very interesting is he understands very quickly how to adopt the language when he goes into these different identities of his. So he is using the MAGA language. So the words are the words that appeals to these people. But there's an incongruity between the words and the delivery. So he seems such an inauthentic messenger of the presentation. Because it's like, what is this guy saying? What are you talking about? And he's up there again wearing the eyeliner. The way his body's positioned doesn't match the words, and he's trying so hard. There was this great TikTok video of a guy who just analyzed JD Vance playing one of these arcade games, and like everything that JD Vance did with it showed how he was a fraud in every interaction. The way he was holding the arcade game gun. When you looked in the background, it was like a deer hunter game. He had missed every one of the deers. He called the game the wrong game. The whole thing is a fraud, and every interaction that he does is one. It's why when we analyze him drinking a root beer or trying to order a Philly cheesesteak or whatever, it comes off so inauthentic because he's saying the words that like a tourist would say, but not that the actual people in the communities themselves would say. And speaking of in the communities himself, he does this thing again during that same event that we're showing you right here in Pennsylvania, where he's talking about Springfield, Ohio. Again, he's quadrupled down on this. And he's like, I dare any reporter to go there and to tell me what's really going on. Here, play this clip.
What I said is that we create media stories. In other words, we focus the people's attention on what's already going on. Does anybody really think, I challenge you, go to Springfield, Ohio, which has been overwhelmed by 20,000 Haitian immigrants. Go to any community that's been overwhelmed by Kamala Harris's illegal alien policies and tell me that these are stories made up by politicians.
And again, there you heard him. He said, again, he admitted there at the beginning that he makes up the stories, he says, to bring attention to what's going on. And then when he says what's going on, he says all of the illegals who are there in Springfield. That's not true. They are lawfully, legally legal. They are there under a protected status. They were invited there. The Republican governor of Ohio says that they are very important to the economy there and to Ohio generally. The mayor of Springfield, the city manager, reporters have gone there and asked that question and have spoken to people. JD Vance, once again, is lying. And you have Donald Trump and JD Vance saying things like, you need to take the illegal Haitians, and they're there lawfully, they're not illegal. And they go and send them to Venezuela. Take the Haitians and send them to Venezuela. But what that should tell you more broadly, whenever Donald Trump talks about the mass deportations on day one, where he wants to order the local police to round up people, he's also talking about people who are here lawfully. I think it would be horrific and brutal and sad if you took people who even weren't here lawfully, but who were contributing to the economy, and you rip them away forcefully and have these images of kids crying and parents being hurt and harmed, because Trump says it's going to be bloody. He calls it bloody. I think that would be a very difficult image in and of itself, but that's not what he's even talking about. He's talking about people who are here lawfully. If your skin is a different color or you look a certain way, that you could, or he thinks that he doesn't like you. Maybe you're a debate moderator he doesn't like. He'll just say you're here unlawfully, and then he'll round you up bloody, and they'll send you away. What do you think they're talking about? What do you think they're doing? That's their plan, and that's what they want to have on day one. Could you imagine the trauma that will cause our country? And that's what they're talking about. Brett, I want to get your take on it, but I want to make sure we get our first ad break in right now, and then we'll be right back. And Brett, then I want to hear your take.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ollie. Clean, fresh nutrition your dog needs in 5 flavors they'll absolutely flip over. Feeding your dog real whole foods with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. A whole fresh food diet has been proven to extend your dog's life by 2.5 years. Who wouldn't want more time with their best friend? Ollie's recipes have no harmful fillers, no preservatives, and are made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world. And because Ollie's meals are gently cooked, they don't need preservatives. It's fresh, real food. With protein-first recipes like fresh beef with sweet potatoes, fresh turkey with blueberries, and fresh lamb with cranberries, Ollie might just have your dog eating better than you. Here's how it works. Take a 30-second quiz about your dog on Ollie's website, and they'll create a customized meal plan based on your dog's specific needs. Ollie then sends your dog starter box with 2 weeks worth of meals, plus a guide on how to transition them over. You could even choose from 3 meal plans to fit your dog's diet. And can I be real with you for a second? My dog Mochi is the best. She's the sweetest, most playful, loving Shih Tzu in the world. She's also one of the most stubborn eaters in the world. And if the food I give her isn't up to her standards, she lets me know. So anytime I introduce something new to her, it's the ultimate test. Since I've been giving her Ollie, she's been licking the bowl clean. I've been giving her the chicken dish with carrots and the lamb with cranberries, and she absolutely loves it. And right now, Ollie is offering an amazing deal, 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe. Just head to Ollie.com, tell them about your dog, and use the code Meidas to get 60% off your first box. That's OLLIE.com, promo code Meidas, MEIDAS. They even offer a clean bowl guarantee, so if you're not satisfied, you get your money back.
Have you heard of NAD+? It's a molecule in every cell of your body, and it's critical to aging well. NAD+ helps keep us feeling youthful by promoting cellular energy, maintaining healthy DNA using nutrients efficiently, and supporting detoxification. By age 50, most people's NAD+ levels are only half of what they were at age 20. Falling NAD+ levels is a major reason that signs of aging start to accelerate. Luckily, science has discovered a way to boost your NAD+ levels up to 50%. It's called Qualia NAD+, a groundbreaking supplement from Qualia. Many doctors and health experts over age 30 use Qualia NAD+ themselves, and I'm proud to have them sponsor this episode. NAD+ is a large molecule that struggles to be bioavailable if you supplement it directly. That's why Qualia NAD+ supports NAD+ the right way by including ingredients called NAD+ precursors that your body can convert into NAD+ to boost your body's own NAD+ production up to 50%. That's great. These are vegan, non-GMO, gluten-free ingredients like niacin, niacinamide, Niagen, also known as NR. These are 3 of the most well-researched NAD+ precursors, and all 3 are in Qualia NAD+ to maximize your body's NAD+ production. Qualia NAD+ is clinically tested and naturopathic doctor formulated. Look, I want to feel decades younger than my actual age. That's why I'm staying at the cutting edge of aging research and boosting my NAD+ levels with Qualia NAD+. After just a month of Qualia NAD+, I'm feeling energy support and vitality return that I haven't felt in years. So to boost your NAD+ levels up to 50%, go to qualialife.com/Jordy. I love that. For up to 50% off and use code Jordy at checkout for an additional 15% off. That's Qualia Life, spelled QUALIALIFE.com/Jordy. Go to qualialife.com/Jordy and use code Jordy, spelled JORDY, for an extra 15% off your purchase. Thanks, Qualia, for sponsoring this episode.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Love our sponsors. Ollie, brand new sponsor on the MeidasTouch Network. You'll be seeing a bit more of them. They're fantastic. Brett said his pup Mochi absolutely loves it. Brett, accurate?
Accurate. No, she loves it. She licked the bowl clean, and she is legitimately, like I said, love her to death. She's the greatest. She's also the most stubborn eater on the planet. So whenever I find something that she actually enjoys, I'm like, thank God.
That's great. And Qualia has been a partner for a while now. Links are in description of YouTube and audio. We love Qualia here. I like that they did a /Jordy for their test. They're trying to see, does Meidas perform better or a /Jordy? So let's let them know. Ben, where to
Here's
next?
one of J.D. Vance's closing messages to the voters, and particularly voters in North Carolina. Here's J.D. Vance earlier in the day. Let's play it.
A sex scandal in North Carolina is between the lieutenant governor and the people of North Carolina. They're going to make their decision, and we support them.
Okay, yeah, play that one more time, too.
A sex scandal in North Carolina is between the lieutenant governor and the people of North Carolina. They're going to make their decision, and we support them.
Actually, just do it one more time. Play it one more time.
A sex scandal in North Carolina is between the lieutenant governor and the people of North Carolina. They're going to make their decision, and we support them.
The party of family values, everybody. There they are. I mean, in every level, there's no leadership. They're the exact opposite. I had to do it 3 times, and the 3rd time was pretty annoying. So I apologize for showing it that 3rd. I did it 1 time too many because I annoyed myself with time number 3. It was so startling to actually, wait, what did he say? Wait, what did he say? Oh, got it. The sex scandal between a governor and his constituent. What in the world did they talk
And remember when a simple "pya" was enough to just, that's it. You beyond on stage, you're out. And now we're seeing that.
Not to mention, it's so much more than a sex scandal. Yes, he was on this website, Nude Africa, and apparently was a big commenter and message board. Comments. He's commented a whole lot on Nude Africa. Like
I said this on the show last Thursday. I'm just like, if you're commenting on not the kink shame, if you're commenting on porn sites,
that's more egregious than the watching of whatever porn he was watching to me. Like he was like a full-time commenter, like long paragraphs on nudeafrica.com. Like he spent his time on this porn site and spent a lot of it like typing his theories on life. Like to me, that is one of the most bizarre things.
This is who Donald Trump calls Martin Luther King times 2.
Can't you just like tweet or like Threads or like Instagram like the rest of us? And
the things that he was talking about, I'm not sure what gave me this idea to do this. Probably one of the dumber ideas that I've done. I'm like, I'm going to go through the comments. I'm like, people need to hear his words. So I tried reading them and I got through about 4 of the posts, and it was some of the most vile things I had ever read. Yeah. You know, he's talking about peeing on his wife's sister. And his wife's sister peeing on him. I'm not going to go more than that because it gets even grosser than that. But his posts are talking about that. So it's about cheating on his wife with his wife's sister, who he and she pee on each other. And so there's that. Then he calls himself on these posts a black Nazi. There are all these other posts and images of the SS as well. And by the way, the other stuff he said that people knew about before those posts, in my view, are even more egregious. I mean, saying that liberals should be put to death for being liberals, basically means he's out there saying that liberals should get killed. I mean, before this, that was known at the time. That's why Donald Trump endorsed him. Those were the types of things that he was saying. He's anti-LGBTQ, but he loves transport. And that's one of the things that he posts about all of the time. But he believes that anti-LGBTQ people also should get like serious penalty, like death penalties, this type of things that he's like saying. Like horrific stuff is what he's talking about. Horrible stuff.
Wait, watch whatever you want. Do whatever kink thing you're into. Did I
stun you, Brett?
Can you not hear me?
No, I got you. We got you. He was just, you just looked really shocked. Like when you went into what you were about to say, that Ben went into all of what he just went into.
I mean, it's certainly shocking stuff when you lay it all out like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like, listen, be whatever, let your freak flag fly, do whatever you want, right? Just don't tell other people what to do, and then don't go out there and try to legislate against these people. I think one of the craziest things getting lost in the whole Mark Robinson saga is that he is the current lieutenant governor of the state. Like we forget that he is currently in a leadership position in this state. This isn't just the guy who is running. He has the second most powerful position in the executive branch of the state of North Carolina. I just feel like
it's a really important point, Brett. It's not like this is like a Doug Mastriano who was just trying to run here, in PA. No, this person already holds a very high position that he got through on with all of the other crazy and awful stuff that he has said. That we all know that he said prior to this investigation coming out.
Jordy, Doug Mastriano's Pennsylvania state senator.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, which at least is more localized than the whole state, but still. But point taken. However, what I think with Robinson, like we just see the same pattern with MAGA that happens over and over. They refuse to just admit they were wrong. They refuse to like just say like, you know what, like we screwed up on this one, or you know what, like we actually don't support Nazis. Like we're like not cool. Like we're not good with Nazis. Actually, it should be hard to say, right? Like, but they're incapable. The North Carolina GOP released the very Trumpian statement as well, where they were like, these, you know, is typical liberal media that's going after Mark Robinson with these unfounded allegations, blah, 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 blah. After these allegations were reported on, somehow somebody found their way into the account of Mark Robinson and deleted a lot of these posts. So it's like, oh, how'd you get access to that account? I'm almost impressed, quite frankly, that you had the password to this account this many years later, that you still had access. Were you still using it? Were you lurking on the website? Because I got to know how you still had access to this account. But it's just that defiance, that refusal to admit you're wrong, and the constant gaslighting that comes with MAGA, that to me, I've always said bothers me even more than any sort of, you know, policy or anything else. It's just this constant lying and gaslighting. It's turning misinformation and disinformation into a strategy and really just poisoning the kind of psyche of the American people with their endless lies.
Well, look, his general counsel, his campaign manager, his finance director, his deputy campaign manager all resigned from Robinson's campaign. That's not exactly something that you do when you didn't do it. And so those are some of the people who are closest to him, but he's staying in the race. There's really hard. It's really
Let me put it in perspective for a second, Ben. He currently has 3 people working for his campaign. It's the amount of people who are hosting this podcast.
By the way, one is his bodyguard. So
like this is a rudderless ship right here. This is like insane.
The other is the admin from Nude Africa.
Moderator.
the third is
Nude Africa moderator.
Yeah. So that, but North Carolina is a critical state it's a critical state. There's really no path for Trump without North Carolina. It's one of the things, though, Vice President Kamala Harris has done in expanding the map as well. Also, you take a look at the map over the weekend, was probably some of the best polling for Vice President Kamala Harris yet. You take a look at the NBC poll, and she was up big there. You take a look at there it is right there. In a national poll, when all third-party candidates are listed, she was actually up 6 against Donald Trump. And then when you look at the crosstabs and some of the other polling data as well, you know, there's some really alarming numbers there for Donald Trump in terms of Vice President Kamala Harris having a pretty high favorability rating. In the history of NBC News taking a look at the favorability of politicians, I think she went up 16 points over the past few months, and that's been her trajectory. The only person who's had a quicker rise in their popularity was George W. Bush after 9/11, like in the history of NBC doing that. Meanwhile, you have Governor Walz, who's also very popular. J.D. Vance is still like one of the most unpopular ever. He's underwater. Donald Trump is also underwater as well, unfavorable there. On the CBS poll, Vice President Kamala Harris has also cleared 50%, which is big too, 52% to 48% there. And you take a look at what's Donald Trump's plan in response to this. Well, one of his plans is to try to pressure states to do things like he did in 2020, right? So Donald Trump's out there having, you know, his Georgia election board people try to change all of the rules. And now they're passing rules in Georgia, which are going to be challenged in lots of court cases now coming up that we're going to be very focused on, saying that all of the votes now have to be hand counted before there can be a winner, so that there could be mischief done to a very safe and secure voting system in Georgia, where the Secretary of State is a classic Republican, Brad Raffensperger, and they have very safe and secure elections in Georgia. In Nebraska, Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham went on an offensive to try to change the state of Nebraska into a winner-take-all electoral system, where Nebraska right now awards 2 electoral votes to the winner of the popular vote. Then in the various 3 congressional districts, if you win the congressional district, you win an electoral vote there. And so in 2020, for example, Nebraska had 4 electoral votes go to Donald Trump, 1 vote went to President Biden because Biden won the 2nd congressional district in Nebraska, which is the Omaha area. Remember, that's where Governor Walz gave that incredible speech a few weeks back as well. Vice President Kamala Harris is winning in that 2nd congressional district area. And so Donald Trump wanted to change all of Nebraska's voting system right now on the eve of the election, because one of the ways you get to 270, if Vice President Kamala Harris wins Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and all the other states she's supposed to win, but doesn't win any of the other states, doesn't win North Carolina, doesn't win Arizona, doesn't win Georgia, for example, she only has 269. So that 1 vote gets you to 270, and that's a path to victory. So Donald Trump wants to interfere with that path, have a special session of the legislature called in Nebraska. The Nebraska governor was kind of pushing for that, but said he wouldn't do it unless he knew they had 33 votes. And one of the more moderate Republicans came out earlier today and said, look, I'm not going to support changing the system, our entire election system this close to the election. I don't feel comfortable doing it. So that crisis is averted, but I want to let everybody know what's going on with these different states, because Trump is going into each of these states now to try to do early what he was doing post-election last year as well. Also, you might as well pull up that one as well, Brett, because over there, Donald Trump's messaging is off. All he has is his own election interference, right? It's always projection and confession. I mean, he's running campaigns in Georgia right now by showing them images of the country Georgia. I mean, and again, this is the type of stuff that in other normal eras would be disqualifying. I mean, you're calling Georgia the country of Georgia. It's also magnificently stupid too. Like, what in the world are we talking? But that's MAGA right now. They do things like that every single day. And I've just noticed too that really the only campaigning emails I get from Donald Trump or JD Vance now talk about the assassination attempts. We know it's an emotional time. Donald Trump's got another attempt on his life. Please donate money right now. We need your money. Over and over again. We love you, but please, there's another. All the fundraising is based off assassination attempts. And then they sell assassination sneakers, assassination mugs, assassination edition, merch, t-shirts, signing things. And that's what they're doing now.
It's all so stupid. And you just see, these are all the marks of just a very incompetent campaign, which makes it all the more frustrating that the race is as close as it is when you peel back the onion a bit. You start peeling back those layers and seeing like what's going on behind the scenes. And you see this campaign that's in just utter chaos behind the scenes. And you look at who Donald Trump put in charge of the Republican Party. He put in charge Lara Trump. And now, surprise, surprise. I mean, this is something that brothers we called months and months and months ago when it happened. We said, oh, they're the people in these races across the country. These other elections that aren't Trump, they're going to get screwed really badly. And that's exactly what's happening. There's panic on the ground in these swing states because people are trying to find out where the Republican get out the vote operation is, and it's non-existent. And in many places, the RNC has farmed out their door knocking operation to groups like Elon Musk's PAC, which is also not doing a good job at it. So they have like no ground game whatsoever. You have all these donors who are wondering what the hell happened to all my money. Like, I've been giving all my money to Lara Trump and the RNC. Well, why don't you check in Melania Trump's speaking fees, which we'll get to in a little bit. Maybe that could be a hint. I don't know. But, it's just this kind of perfect storm right now where Trump has lost the issues that are kind of everything that he's run on, right? He's been running on crime. Crime is down significantly. And there was just another report that shows crime further decreasing. He's running on immigration and the border, but we have border apprehensions and border crossings down to their lowest levels in years. He's running on inflation, but inflation is now heading towards deflation. He was running on high interest rates. Now the rates are coming down. Like, everything he's running on isn't working. So the only thing he has left to even fundraise on at this point are these ridiculous lies about they're eating dogs, they're eating cats, and the assassination stuff. And that's why it's all he's pushing, because it's all he's got. Like, this is a desperate guy. And that's why his campaign appears so desperate right now.
Lara
Vice-
Trump scares me though. She's a real asset because you didn't mention she's like a 16-time Grammy recording artist. I mean, she, I don't know how she's able to both be such an incredible musician and also head up the RNC. It's just she's just super impressive person.
Multi-talented, yeah.
But this is really where the failure does come in with corporate media, and I'm not going to go into it much, but it's just like, why isn't anybody holding the other failure of the Trump campaign accountable? The fact that they don't have any ground game, the fact that they actually don't have much spend at all to put on TV, the fact that it's just a continuous grift. To your point, Mr. and Mrs. Magadonian, that money is all just going to Trump and Alina Habba and Melania Trump. It's like, corporate media, wake the heck up. But also at the same time, fine, don't, because we're here as the collective we, the Meidas Mighty, to fill that void. Please, if you haven't already, hit subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're on our way to 4 million subscribers, and it's all thanks to y'all and just this idea of chasing down the truth with facts and data points, and not this corporate spin of making this, a horse race between the two candidates. The choice is clear, the data is clear, and we're here, the collective we, to hold truth to fire every single day. Ben.
You use the horse race example, though, but sometimes in a horse race, one horse is much faster than the other horse. And we're like, the faster horse is clearly the winner. What corporate media wants to do, though, is where there's one horse that's clearly significantly not just ahead, but running a traditional pro-democracy campaign. And perhaps the other horse, meanwhile, is injected with all of these steroids and is cheating in every single which way and doing everything wrong and inappropriately and breaking all of the rules. The media is not only calling out that horse that's behind, they're like pushing the horse forward. One of the examples I've always given growing up in the early 1990s was Game Genie, which would attach to your Nintendo, and all of a sudden your characters would, be able to beat the game without actually having to go through and play by the rules. And the media wants to make the horse race close is the bigger issue too, that they're not covering the race accurately. And also, you remember when they were writing all of those editorials that Biden had to go and what a disaster it was. Remember, Biden was down less, significantly less than where Trump is now when all of that was taking place. And that's everything with the media. Every day the media reported that, not so much right now at all. And then even the way we'll talk about this Melania story in a bit, they're just like, this is ethically questionable. Ethically questionable. I'm glad CNN did this report. We've been calling this payment out for quite some time now, for like 5 months. We've been calling out all the payments and stuff that she's been doing, but like getting a payment and saying it's from a group that's not really, that's saying they didn't give it to you, that's more than just like a question mark. That's like real serious issues. We'll talk about that and more, but let's take our last break of the show. As a kid, I loved eating cereal, but as an adult, I don't want all that sugar, and most cereals don't give me the protein I need. Then I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And if you're already a Magic Spoon fan like I am, I have big news. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious and have already become my favorite before and after gym snack. Every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you are eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there's so many more. I love the cocoa ones. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolate peanut butter, chocolatey peanut butter. I personally love Magic Spoon's chocolatey peanut butter treats. I have one every morning to start the day off on the right foot, and I know you will love it as well. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Meidas, or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream. magicspoon.com/Meidas. The best bacon, the best steak, the best chicken, the best salmon you'll ever eat, it's not going to come from the grocery store. It's going to come from the family farm and independent Alaskan fishermen. And now you can get it when you join the Moink movement today. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and sustainable wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. Moink farmers farm like our grandparents did, and as a result, Moink meat tastes like it should because the family farm does it better. And the Moink difference is a difference that you can actually taste. Unlike the supermarket, Moink gives you the total control over the quality and source of your food. You choose the meat delivered in every box, like ribeyes to chicken breast to pork chops to salmon fillets and much more. Plus, you can cancel it at any time. And I love that Moink is helping save rural America. Join the Moink movement today, and you'll never turn back. Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary called Moink's bacon the best bacon he's ever tasted, and Ring Doorbell founder Jamie Siminoff jumped at the chance to invest in Moink. Plus, they guarantee you'll say, oink, oink, I'm just so happy I got Moinked. I know I do, and you will too. Keep American farming going by signing up at moinkbox.com/MeidasTouch right now, and listeners of our show get free hot rolls in your first box. It's the best hot rolls you'll ever taste for a limited time. It's spelled MOINK box.com/MeidasTouch. That's moinkbox.com/MeidasTouch. One more time, moinkbox.com/MeidasTouch.
I have to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night out with drinks. It's called pre-alcohol. Let's face it, after a night of drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I used to feel like I had to make a choice. I could either have a great night or a great next day. But now, I don't have to choose, thanks to pre-alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's actually this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your next rough day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on getting up early for a workout or handling a busy work day without worry. I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol at first, but then while hanging out with some friends at a rooftop bar, I gave it a shot. I had my first pre-alcohol before my go-to margarita, and the next morning, I felt amazing, just like my normal self, ready to take on the day. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I believe the hype, and with their GMO technology, ZBiotics is working on more products to address other toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use the code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. ZBiotics is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use that code Meidas, MEIDAS at checkout for 15% off.
Shout out to all of our sponsors. Links in description of YouTube and audio. Use those links, use those codes. Let them know we sent you. Helps the show. Great products for y'all. Ben, where to next?
One of the things I should have mentioned earlier when I talked about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance attacking the Haitian community is how it's also backfiring across the country. For example, in Florida, where there's over 500,000 Haitian Americans, the largest Haitian population lives in that South Florida area. And I'm not sure if you saw some of the signs that were there in Uniondale, Long Island, when Donald Trump was giving a speech there, but they said, we don't eat pets, but we sure vote. And the Florida Haitian community has made it very clear that they will not be supporting Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as a result of the attacks on the Haitian community. It should also be noted that when you take a look at the margin that Donald Trump beat President Biden in Florida by in 2020, I mean, it comes to slightly under 400,000 votes or so. So there are more people in the Haitian community. If they all were to use their voting power against Donald Trump, that in and of itself could potentially flip Florida from red to blue right there. And then you're also seeing places like the Villages and other very conservative areas in Florida where, as I like to call them, and I know there are a lot of them who are fans of the MeidasTouch Network, classic Republicans. They're saying we're not supporting Donald Trump. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw what he did with COVID. We may have voted for him before. We're supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. And I hope you all appreciate the videos we do here on the MeidasTouch Network, where we highlight all of the stories of former Trump voters who are now supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. And again, it's all anecdotal data that I have, but Brett, Jordy, would it be an exaggeration to say that I've at least gotten tens of thousands of these stories, a lot of them unprompted, potentially even when you look for the ones where I've asked for comments and feedbacks? I would say it's over 100,000 and potentially more people who have shared these stories in long paragraphs with me and explaining in detail what made them change, how they've changed. And we've been covering this now for 2.5, 3 years. And I think that's going to be one of the most significant trends that we see when the election data comes in. And here's why. I saw what happened in the primaries. This was 6 months ago, 7 months ago. The 538 polling aggregates had Donald Trump supposed to get 90%, 95%, and he would get like 80% or like 75%. And Nikki Haley, when she dropped out, would get like 20%. Donald Trump underperformed in 46 of 50 states. And in Michigan, he underperformed the 538 average in the actual primary by 15 points. 15 points. You know, Mike Madrid, who I interviewed recently, it was a great interview that came up. He goes, you know, polls give you the map, but they don't specifically tell you the terrain once you're on the ground. But primaries give you the terrain data of being on the ground. And he said that is statistically significant. And I just think one of the things the voters are fed up about, there's so many examples, but it's like yet again, Donald Trump tried to shut down the government. It's like the fourth time. Remember, he tried to get Kevin McCarthy not to raise the debt ceiling, and then he tried to get Kevin McCarthy not to pass a budget or not to reach a compromise, and then he tried to do it with MAGA Mike Johnson, and then he tried to stop MAGA Mike Johnson from passing a continuing resolution, then tried to get MAGA Mike to do it again. Donald Trump was able to block a bipartisan immigration bill led by the most conservative Republican basically in the Senate, James Lankford from Oklahoma, which would have been a very important bill. Trump got the MAGAs to kill that, but he failed once again to try to get them to not fund the government. Donald Trump put out this message last week or in the past week and a half saying that they need to not fund the government. They need to stop. And he's been posting message like this over and over again, telling people to shut down the government, shut down the government. And so, you know, MAGA Mike Johnson does the same dance over and over again, where he put in a poison pill into the original continuing resolution. This poison pill was what's called the SAVE Act, which Donald Trump says this is the only way that you can stop illegal aliens from voting, and Democrats are getting all the illegal aliens to vote. So you need the SAVE Act so that you can actually use your birth certificate to determine who's an American citizen. Well, let me be very clear, folks. There's no evidence at all that illegal aliens are voting, that people who are here unlawfully, I don't want to use the pejorative term by the MAGAs, that people who are here unlawfully or don't have legal status, they're not allowed to vote. They're not voting. There is no evidence of them voting. But what the SAVE Act would do by requiring this overhaul of the electoral system just weeks before the election, if you focus on a birth certificate, who do you think that impacts a lot? Which type of voters do you think that actually impacts? Women voters whose maiden name may be and oftentimes is different from their current legal name. So women would have to go through a ton of hurdles to prove that their current legal name is consistent with their birth certificate name, or else they'll be removed from the voting rolls. So that was part of the hustle of the SAVE Act right there. And Donald Trump was claiming, oh, all these unlawful people are voting. No, they're not. It would never pass in the Senate. And the Democrats stood up to this ridiculous performative crap of a poison pill. And they said, we're not doing it. And the MAGA Republicans, for their own self-preservation, because they know that there's a lot of House members who know that the people have caught up to their schemes and stunts at this point. And so they are trying to keep they're not doing this because they're rejecting Trump. They're doing it out of self-preservation for themselves to try to stop the bleeding where they're already likely going to lose the House. They just don't want to lose it by even more. And that's what they're trying to prevent against. So MAGA Mike sent this letter yesterday saying, we tried to do the SAVE Act. We tried to do it, but oops, we didn't do it. So now we're going to pass a clean continuing resolution. But he had to go through the humiliation ritual that Donald Trump forced him to go through. But then part of the dance you have to go through, then MAGA Mike goes on Fox and then compares Donald Trump to Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. And they all got to be like, but he's so powerful. He's so great. And then Donald Trump forgets about it and moves on. The same way that Donald Trump all of a sudden started being very pro-vaping, in his speeches and in his events and in his posts. One of his kind of closing messages is pro-vaping. And it's because he spoke to the head of the vaping lobby recently, as the Washington Post reported. And it's whoever he speaks to last, who flatters him, is ultimately where he sides with on all of these issues. So there's no government shutdown. I want to say this, though. I showed you the photo at the outset of this with Donald Trump stock, Trump media, DJT, taking a pretty bad hit again today. It was down 10% today. Just look at, it was down 6 or 7% today, but just take a look at what it looks like over the past month or so. Just look at that. It's been down 70 to 80% over the past 6 months. The stock starts trading at $10. So the fact that it's 12 is a bit of a misnomer. 10 is the starting point for special purpose acquisition companies. And remember the pump and dump aspect of this. And so now, if you bought this at 80 or 100, your entire life savings is probably completely lost on this thing. We've been warning about this every step of the way. So Brett, Jordy, that brings us to what you were saying at the outset, which is the MAGA grift right now, because Trump media, that's another Trump failure. Put that in the bucket of Trump vodka, Trump steak, Trump mortgage, Trump airplanes, Trump casinos, Trump University, and all of those things that have completely failed and went bankrupt. It's easy to predict future behavior when past is prelude. So now what are they doing? They're selling the trinkets. Trump selling the Bitcoin for the burger. Do we have the video clip of Donald Trump bragging about Bitcoins for burgers on Fox? This is literally his closing message right now as we get close to November election day. Here, play this clip.
I don't even get it. Do you understand what you bought hamburgers?
Well, I did. I bought a hamburger with Bitcoin. They said it was the first purchase ever made, I guess, of a hamburger or something. And now look, I'm a believer in staying at the top. This is a hot thing. And rather than giving it to China, like the AI stuff, artificial intelligence, China's going crazy about it. They're also going crazy on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I do understand it. I think it's going to be a very hot industry. And it already.
China's not going crazy about it. China has actually banned it. As part of its policy from cradle to grave China, they have their own digital currency, and you can't go outside of what the government allows you to have there. So he's trying to sound smart by mentioning China. Again, he does not know what he is talking about there at all. Also, what weird background music there? What is Fox just doing an ad? They have,
yeah.
It sounds like the music from.
By the way, I've noticed this now in the last few Trump interviews, hits on Fox, on Newsmax, on other stations. They're all incredibly heavily edited, and in the Fox case, the last few segments like that have included this weird music to kind of try to smooth it out in the background. It's very bizarre, and I wonder what the actual reasoning is behind it. Because, like you said, Ben, that sounds more like the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous kind of E or Access Hollywood show.
Right. I'd say you know best as an editor, right? It's a trick to pump more energy into the clips to make sure that, you know, he doesn't feel like low energy Donald, that he makes sure that what he's saying is actually, I don't know, accurate, I guess, for lack of it. Like just adding music is like an editor trick just to make sure that people think that he's like in tune with it and he's confused.
Like if you look carefully at a lot of these interviews, you'll see just like random points kind of while Trump is in the middle of speaking. It cuts to like the interviewer or cuts to something else. And it sounds unnatural because it is unnatural. Like they don't even do a good job at editing it, but they take away a lot of the things that he says. You know, I don't know if it's for legal reasons or to protect him, probably a combination of all that, but that's what we're seeing.
I think it's actually to distract from his words. And you just kind of put him up there. It's actually so people don't listen to what he's saying.
Just like white noise in the background.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, it's just like images and people just see him speaking. And like, if you listen to what he's saying, like it's quite literally psycho. Like I don't use the term, like it's actually psychotic. Like, what are you talking about? Your Bitcoin to buy a hamburger? Right? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this is an election where people's lives are on the line, right? Like, whether or not you have the health care that you need for life-saving treatment, and Donald Trump has concepts of a plan, whether you're talking about Social Security that you need to afford to, like, live, that you paid into a system, right? Whether veterans are getting life-saving health care from burn pits, right? We're talking about whether your prescription drug prices are good. We're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about...
By the way, Ben, there are serious ways to have crypto, regulate crypto, allow people to use crypto. But I think one of the things that Trump likes is that it is right now the wild, wild west, basically. And Trump loves something that he can manipulate and not get in trouble for, ultimately, like his stock, where he had his people put in their life savings into this thing, where he gets to cash out at a certain point, and they get stuck with the bag of losing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. But that's the whole thing with the Trump family. The whole thing is one big grift. We saw Melania Trump. This is from a CNN report, but it follows reporting that we've done here at the MeidasTouch Network now over the course of many months, Ben, if not over the past year plus. Melania Trump was paid $237,500, $237,500 for a speech at an April fundraiser for the Log Cabin Republicans at Mar-a-Lago. So let's put it in perspective for a little bit, right? Melania Trump, at the place where she and Donald theoretically live. I know she's often not there, but she takes a foot out. I can't speak today for some reason. She takes a step out of her home. She speaks for 5 minutes. She gets paid $237,000 for it, and that's it. And this has happened repeatedly. Like you look through the records, she was paid $250,000 for a Log Cabin Republican event in December 2022. She had at least like 3 other payments that were $250,000 or more that she received for speaking that month. And CNN actually went to the Log Cabin Republicans and they said, "Did you pay this money?" Like we see it on this report that Melania Trump was paid $250,000 here, $240,000 here. And what they've said was, no, well, we didn't pay it. We don't know who paid it. So there's actually no real record right now of where Melania Trump even is getting this money from. But that even right there, you know, and by the way, there have been events since then which have not been reported at this point. She's made like apparently well over $1 million by speaking for a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there. And she's barely on the campaign trail. It's not like she's giving like, you know, speeches at big corporate events or whatever. She is speaking on her own property and using what appears to be, I don't know, campaign money or PAC money or could be secret donors. Like you just have no idea. There's like no record of where this money is even coming from.
Do you have the speech that she was paid $237,000 for? I know our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, posted it in real time. Let me just show you what somebody, it's not the Log Cabin Republicans because they just said the payment didn't come from them, even though the financials claim it came from them. But this was the speech. This is $237,000, folks. Here, play this clip.
Incredible historic event that we're having here. And obviously having the First Lady here just means so much to us. That, ladies and gentlemen, the former and next First Lady of
Thank you so much for kind introduction and beautiful words. Good evening. So great to see so many familiar faces here tonight. It is an honor and a privilege to be in your presence once again, surrounded by friends and allies who share the common goal of promoting equality for all.
I get it now. That's worth at least 10 million right there.
Let me show you, though. Here's one of the board members of the, if you want to know, like, well, what are they doing on a daily basis? The Log Cabin Republicans. Here's one of the board members. She's one of the top MAGA surrogates right now. Her name is Sophia Hutchins. She's also Caitlyn Jenner's manager. She's a transgender woman, and she makes videos like this frequently as part of the Log Cabin Republicans that she's a part of. This is, and again, this is the organization that on the financial disclosures said paid Melania money, but then didn't. This is the types of videos that Sophia is posting daily. Here, play this clip.
And since I'm responding to your fun comments, I just put more cream on this hand, more cream on my foot. Another Benadryl, because it's just like, driving me crazy. When I said a person to be lazy in bed with, I very specifically meant a man. Just to be very clear in case there was any question out there, because of course some of you are DMing, oh, well, any kind of person? Do you mean like, are you bi? Are you a lesbian? No, red-blooded, straight, very heterosexual, and definitely looking for like a red-blooded, all-American type of man. You know, for instance.
One of the main MAGA surrogates right there, Sophia Hutchins. And here she is again railing about some of the biggest issues confronting America today and the LGBTQ community as a board member of the Log Cabin Republicans. Here, play this one.
And I'm not a big Amazon person myself, but I'm going to film a little video for you telling you how I really feel. Stay tuned. Take 2. Amazon's Alexa bye-bye election interference. I felt so strongly, I had to get a big sledgehammer. Let's see if I get it. Fuck you, Amazon.
For those listening on audio, that's one of the board members of the Log Cabin Republican organization using a sledgehammer to attack a Amazon Alexa device and saying F you to the Alexa device and recording herself doing so. Folks, we've got to roll up our sleeves and we got a lot of work to do. And again, we'll continue our investigation work. Like when Melania started doing these Log Cabin Republican events, it raised a lot of red flags. Go back, Meidas, a year ago, we were raising red flags because you know, there were posts. This is from 2022. We were doing videos on this stuff. And, you know, I'm sure you've probably have seen our Melania series. And yeah, one of the reasons I focus on it is just the whole story of Melania is very bizarre. How she was brought into the United States, met Donald Trump at the Kit Kat Club, you know, was, you know, not really a model, but claims to be a model from Eastern Europe, but was part of this modeling agency that would bring young Eastern European women to meet wealthy Manhattan men, and they would party at these Kit Kat Club things and whatever. But the broader point is not that. It's also that, you know, she's very much involved in a lot of this stuff also. And so when you see these contributions going to her and now the organization saying they didn't make it, okay, that's a red flag. Who made it? You're supposed to disclose the source of it. I don't see, again, this is my opinion that I'm sharing. It's just an opinion. I don't see how that isn't unlawful to lie about the source of funds that on a campaign disclosure, like in my opinion, isn't that what George Santos pled guilty to? Like, isn't that one of the major issues with Menendez, Democratic senator in New Jersey, who was found guilty? Again, I'm just giving you my my personal opinions there. All right. So on that note, I want to give a brief update quickly on my status. As you all know, we went in early last week to the hospital, and we're there for a number of days, believing that that would be the day when our beautiful baby girl was going to be born. But the beautiful baby girl was simply not ready then. Baby's healthy, mommy's healthy, which is always the most important thing. But we were told to come back. And so now we will be in the hospital all day tomorrow. I'm going to get prepared for that right now, actually. And tomorrow we expect to be the birthday of our baby girl, our first baby girl, first child, Jimena. So that will be tomorrow around noon, 1 o'clock Pacific time, but we'll be in the hospital all day. And I expect that I'll be in the hospital pretty much all week. I'll see if I have the ability to do any videos or not. I'm going to always err on the side of being with mom and baby, though. But we're in the able hands of Jordy and Brett and all the great hosts. Brett did, when we thought it was going to be last week, Brett did an absolutely incredible job with those morning hot takes. So I know you're not going to miss any content with those incredible Brett videos. And want to thank all of our hardworking contributors and hosts and producers and everyone involved in this network for stepping up. So I'll leave you with that. We're going to do another watch party for Governor Walz. If the media doesn't let us live stream it, I don't think they're going to let us live stream it. So you might as well join our Patreon now in advance, patreon.com. Just join it now, because remember last time there was only a limited amount of spaces to be in the Patreon to do the watch party with us. So just make sure you have a spot to watch Governor Walz debate JD Vance. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Want to thank everybody so much from the bottom of my heart for watching, and we'll see you next time. Jordy, take us away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.